Hey, thanks for tuning into the Land and Home Show. My name is Stephen Davey Davis. Today we are talking to two beginning homesteaders, so stay tuned to hear what they've got to say. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I think I already said that. I am here with two past clients, and we have a lot to talk about. I'm super excited because I've not been here for a year or so. We've kept in touch, of course, but I've not been on their property in a long time, and a lot of things have changed. So this is Jason and Tash, and just tell me as if I didn't know you already about yourself. Where do you come from? And what was your reason for moving here?
You want to start?
Okay, well, we're from Louisville, and I would say COVID really pushed us to wanting to move to the country or having land, because during COVID, we went camping a lot because there was nothing else to do with the shutdown, and then finally we were like, this is the dream we want to follow, is to have our own piece of land and create this magical place for other people. And then we met you.
Yeah.
And that's how we did it.
How did we meet?
Through Jason.
Yeah, so I was on social media. It was when I first started working at App Harvest.
Oh yeah, I do remember now.
You were at the store.
Yes.
Getting a shirt and a hat or something, and you just posted, and I was like, who is this guy? So I stalked you a little bit, and I was like, oh. I was like, he's a realtor, who specializes in land and stuff like that. So
right,
I hit you up.
Yeah, it was Instagram. Okay, I just couldn't remember. And you're from Louisville too?
No, so my dad was in the military, so grew up all up the East Coast. I say I'm from Florida because that's where we lived the longest.
Gotcha.
And that's where I went to college too. And then after college, got a job at Zappos.com out in Vegas. Yep. And then their fulfillment center was in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, so they relocated me to Louisville, and that's where.
Yeah. We met at Zappos.
Yeah.
That's so cool. A love story over shoes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you have some cool shoes.
Not anymore.
Oh, really?
Well.
That's what's moving to the place like this does. A small house. You gotta get rid of things that, fashion over function.
Yeah. So you moved here, kind of COVID as the impetus. We all met, we looked at places, we got under contract under a place, we had a hell of a time getting released from that contract.
Yeah, that was a nightmare.
That was a nightmare, and then you finally found this place. And so what drew you to here? Before even getting into what it's like living here, what made you love this so much that you're like, we want it?
Yeah.
Well, we found it our friends were right down the street, half a mile across 68, and we visited them once we moved to Lexington, and after seeing their place, we're like, this is it. This is so pretty out here, all these horses, the farming, it's all really pretty. And then, weirdly enough, we were just driving through the area and saw a for sale sign, and we were like, Steven, you have to help us up. So I think that's what got us to come out here, is seeing that our friends were making it out here.
Yeah.
And then it just everything fell into place after that.
So then I think, we checked it out. We did the first tour, and then we were exploring the neighborhood, driving down Mount Pleasant Road, and then that's when we saw the Turtleback Ridge Brewery sign, farm and brewery, and we're like, what? No.
Yeah, not back here. How can it be back here?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's literally we can ride our bikes there.
Yeah.
And I think the first time we went to Turtleback and experienced that and the community out here, really made it solidified this place. We tell them all the time, you guys are one of the biggest reasons why we decided to pull the trigger on here, because it combined we're from the city, I've lived in the city for 40 years, and this is the first time we've not had the conveniences of the city, but now we can live here and drink good beer.
What are the chances? You're so far away from everything, and then all of a sudden, nestled in the middle of nowhere is this community brewery that is pulling all the different farmers and different likes of people, no matter the age, race, or whatever your mindset is.
Yeah.
Everyone meets there, and it's just like,
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it like helped break our idea of like stereotypical like country living too, because like we've met like, and I admit like I had those like stereotypes too of like, you know, people who live in like rural areas, and like we've met some of the most progressive thinking people like who have like lived in this area forever and like never experienced city life.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh man, like this is like really cool. Like,
rural America is not a monolith.
Yeah.
There's a lot of diversity out here. So once you got into this house, like how did your dream of being here and your desire of being here changed once you were here day to day to day to day? Like what was different or surprising?
I would say the space, because living in Lexington, we had a basement, we had tons of storage space, we had closets.
How big was?
It was like 2,100 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sold your last house.
Yeah.
To get here, and so that's 2,100 square feet. And how big is your home now?
I
700?
think it's, yes, 700 something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a huge change. Yeah. And then like we kind of didn't really appreciate all the space that we had because we were used to it. So it's just kind of what you do with it. You're not really thinking efficiently when you're living with all that space, because you can just put things where you want it and have everything out of your sight. But then coming here, it just kind of puts that more into perspective for us. Like, what things do we actually need? What are the things we want? And what things can we hide in the garage and in the shed? And so I think that has been the biggest challenge for me moving into a more a tiny house, technically, is trying to get rid of a persona that I once held on to, which is like my style, my fashion. Those things don't matter when you're out here, like out into this area. Like you got to make choices and sacrifices for things that actually matter and are efficient and make sense, because none of that stuff makes sense anymore.
So your space has totally changed your perception of what's important.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like everything, like everything has to have utility.
Yeah.
Like now.
It has to have a purpose. Everything has to have a function.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Everything. If there's no function, it doesn't exist here.
Yeah, like
how we think
it
to
is
ourselves.
useless
Yeah,
now.
it's useless. So that's how we try to minimize more. Is if it's not creating value for us and our family and having chickens and stuff like that, it has to go. And that's hard to grapple with and to let go. It's like, no, but I've had that dress forever and it looks good on me. But when are you gonna wear it?
Yeah.
When's the next time that you're gonna go to a party like that? So it's just a different, changing the mindset, like getting into a different paradigm, like having that different thought process that never existed in the city, for us at least, is a hurdle.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge that I feel like we want to keep embracing and moving forward. And
how's it? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, we've always sort of had that mentality. Like, we've always been like pretty minimalist, but like until you
so
like,
we thought.
so we thought, like, but until you like, and like we've always had like the dream of like, oh, like it'd be cool to live in a tiny house and not own anything.
Yeah.
Little did we know.
Like, how freeing would that feel, right?
Yeah.
But until you actually like do live in a tiny house,
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
And frankly, folks, like this house is, a lot of you watching probably think, oh, I just need a tiny home. Like there's 700-ish square feet. It's actually a pretty like liberally sized set, because you have a little bit of like upper space for like a little bit of storage. Like the tiny houses that a lot of you contact me about are the size of the room that we're sitting in, and I don't know how anybody can do that, especially if you're moving directly from like a normal sized apartment or home that most Americans can relate to, like 2,000 square feet, 1,500 square feet, 2,500 square feet, down to 300, which is not this, but it's like a tiny home. That would be really hard, like
That
to
would
have
be-
half this space.
That would be
And you have a
hard.
little one too. Well, I don't
Yeah.
think that she'd like that I call her
She's
a
still
little
my
one.
little one.
She's a young lady who is, also growing too. So I mean, it's not just the two of you
Yeah.
in this space.
Yeah, you have to think about all that stuff. And
Yeah.
and we have cats too.
Mhm.
Imagine living. I can't imagine a litter box in a 300 square foot
No.
Me either.
No.
space.
No.
And then cool. Like Basil might think it's fun now to live in a true tiny house, like
With
up
her
in a little
parents.
loft with her parents,
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
they can
right
see
above her.
across. But and when she's a tween, like she's gonna hate us. Like, you just have to think about something
Yeah,
like that, and
yeah.
people don't really think about it. Like if
We
you're
didn't really think about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
We kind of jumped. We jumped at a dream.
Yeah.
That dream was we were so eager. We had a vision.
You were-
and
yeah, I mean-
our hearts pounding and
That is so true. There's nothing romanticized about what you just said. Like these folks had a clear thing. Like we saw stuff that was like going to make the dream work, and if it wasn't, it was like there's no point. And it was like, well, how is the house going to look? Because if we don't have a house there, like where are we going to actually put it? Like you guys were
yeah.
laser focused.
even
Yeah.
this space, like we were hesitant because because it's a ravine. Like we live on top of a ridge pretty
Yep.
much, and it's a ravine, and we're like, is this space truly usable?
Right.
But then Tasha and I we could we're really good at envisioning.
Yes, you are.
And
And
we're
the things
we can,
that you've already done are just like.
yeah, we can totally make it work. So,
Yeah. How has it changed your work life? Because a lot of people were working from home at the start of COVID,
Yeah.
and then you were in Lexington where high-speed internet, like cell phone service, like all these things are just like a
conveniences.
given.
Yeah.
So you mostly still work from home now, right?
Yeah,
Since
I
the
mean,
pandemic has
yeah.
been way less pandemic-y.
Yeah, I work from home 100%, out of a company based out of New York City, and the biggest thing is I had 1,000 megs a second internet in Lexington, so a gig, and out here I have 20 on a good day. So I mean that's a big thing to consider. Is
Yeah.
high-speed internet. Like I barely have enough to Zoom with people.
Yeah.
But thank God I do because
Yeah, that's the way the world
or else
works.
I wouldn't be able to work from home. And outside of that too, my office is upstairs in the loft right next to where we sleep. That's it's not the ideal situation.
Right.
But I don't know, it works. It could be better, which is why hopefully we can finish the garage and make the office space in there. But it's okay. It's working out.
Do you ever just want to wring each other's necks being in, such close space?
I thought I would more often. Because
What?
I love to have, I recharge by separating.
Mm.
And so that
Yeah.
was a big, hurdle for me is there is no place for me to escape. But then the land is where I started to escaping, doing things, chores on the land, creating the paths or taking care of landscaping, or now we have chickens.
Yeah.
Now we have more chickens. We started with 2 chickens in
Yeah.
the city, and now we had 10, and fortunately we lost a couple, and that's something to get used to. Predators. But
What was your last run-in with a predator like?
it was a little bobcat.
Do you ever think you'd say you had to chase off a bobcat?
No, I never thought. And I thought it was a cat for a second. I was like, oh, that's a really tall cat. And why is it chasing the chickens? And then here I am running down a bobcat into the woods, And so a lot of things have
Your
changed.
life has changed
A lot of things have
dramatically.
changed. A whole lot. A whole lot.
Oh my gosh. And so speaking of, you talked about finishing a garage. So what's cool about this property, and you'll probably either have already seen it or you're about to see it on B-roll footage, but there's the home, which is an Amish built home. It's kind of got log cabin facade. And you have a really big shed, a huge shed. And then you also have this gorgeous, also Amish built garage that could easily be a studio apartment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess this is already kind of like a studio apartment,
Yeah.
but a studio-er apartment, because
Yeah.
it's definitely smaller than your home,
Uh-huh.
but it's got enough space to be livable. So you want to make that into more of an office space eventually.
Yeah, I think the plans with that are spray foam it, wood walls, put wood down on the floor and just make it kind of an open concept cool
Gotcha.
space that it can be like a hangout area, like if friends come over, and office space.
Yeah.
I like that. It's a very cool space inside, which we will not get to see because they are still transitioning from larger living to smaller living. But you will see the outside. So, as far as improvements that you've already made, so you had a dream. Describe what your dream was and what you've done to make that dream come true so far.
It all started with wanting to create a community, wanting to create a safe haven for people who live in the city and to open up their minds to coming out to explore rural living.
And nature.
Yeah, and just take a breather from city life, from work, and just appreciate nature. And so we did a lot of camping, and with that we were stealing little ideas from the places that we were camping. We're we want this, and let's do that, and I think this will be more efficient for other people, and this will draw the crowds. So it began with us exploring nature ourselves, which we, before COVID, at least for me, before COVID, I never did nature. No, thank you. But then COVID forced you out of your house. Otherwise you're trapped in there. And then I think being out into nature was brand new to me. I was like an infant. I was oh my God, they're butterflies, So that, I think, I wanted everyone to experience what I was experiencing, because it was phenomenal. It was just
I would have never known that
world.
you weren't a nature person before. Their daughter, Basil, is into all the creepy crawlies and touching all the bugs and seeing all the different organisms, and that's very cool. I don't have children myself, but I applaud you both for having a kid be outside, because a lot of people didn't go outside. They did other things extracurricularly, but it was not outside.
Right.
They found other ways to communicate. I mean, we all did different things during COVID, so I'm not judging anybody for not going camping. And that's not for everyone, but I just think that it's cool that you have a little human who you're yes, an iPad is an option, but also so is this caterpillar. Or you know what I mean? I just think that balance is a very cool thing, and it's not always as prevalent today as maybe it could be. Or maybe that it once was.
Yeah, we know that too. There's people who they like the idea of nature and connecting with nature and exploring nature, but they don't like camping. So we also we were hyper aware of that. So we wanted to create maybe the in-between space, which is why we created the cabin. And there's a more, for maybe the people who wanted more of a traditional cabin, okay, I feel safe, I'm surrounded by
walls. Not tent walls.
Coyotes aren't gonna
bobcat.
Bobcat.
Maybe a couple spiders, not 20 spiders. But then there's also a little further down to the woods, which is Tasha's baby and her dream and her sanctuary. It's actually what it's called, the sanctuary.
The sanctuary.
Gives you, it's still glamping, and you still have a lot of conveniences that you're not used to in traditional camping, but it's for the more adventurous and maybe that.
We're trying to ease people.
Exactly.
Ease people into it. You don't have to pitch your own tent. We have everything you need here to get you into that feeling or just escape. It's just a different way of escapism.
And you have, so if I just go down the line, you've got hammocks kind of curiously spread around everywhere. You have a gorgeous cabin, which I will have footage of course. You have the sanctuary area. You have an outdoor restroom, which is also very cool and chic. You've created walking paths, right, with plans to do more.
Yeah.
What else is here? Oh, chickens. You mentioned how many? You have 10 chickens.
We had 12.
Yep, right. Recipes.
Exactly.
Be prepared.
You have a few cats. Outdoor cats?
Yeah, so moving here with the less space, our indoor cats had to, actually wanted to be outdoor cats. So then we're that helps us. So then we have a couple outdoor cats.
So outdoor cats.
Help us with the pests.
We don't buy eggs anymore because all of our chickens, so that's awesome.
That is pretty cool. Beautiful eggs too.
Yeah. Tosh pretty much built a half-mile of trails in there last winter. We're going to build more this winter. And then... Oh, the tree weave.
Oh, right. How could I forget about the tree weave? That is the coolest thing. It's very cold out, so we're not like outside talking because it's like for real like winter. It's like maybe in the 20s right now.
Yes.
So didn't really want to stand outside talking about this, but I will promise you will see the tree weave and know how to get in touch with these wonderful people. But the tree weave is legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Different vantage point.
I can't wait to come back. In terms of the future, like what do you feel like you have left to do? What would you want to do in your wildest dreams with the space you have, or do you want more space? Will you add on to your house? Will you add on to your land? Will you build another cabin? I don't know. What do you see?
Talk about it all the time. We were talking about adding on to the back of the kitchen already, like turning the back porch into more of like where you can extend the kitchen and turn this into a living space and provide a better room for Basil as she gets older. So like he said, as she starts to grow, we're going to have to expand our way of thinking and being more efficient and things of that sort. But
a bridge you don't have to cross yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Although I'm sure you'll blink and you'll be like, how are you going to college? You know, like, I mean, she's so much taller than even last year. It's like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
What else? Some more trails.
And we're really, 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 really hoping to get into opening up our own chicken business where we're trying to turn the shed, once it's organized and we're downsized a bit more, into like where we're going to breed chickens and give baby chicks away or sell baby chicks and start selling eggs at farmers market. So that's our big focus for next year, is to start that operation.
Nice.
And like we're not gonna lie, like now that we've built this, we definitely have had like the thoughts of like, oh cool, like we can do something cool with 8 acres. What can we do with 50 acres?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
You know, what can we do with 50 acres and a creek? Like, you know, like we have this like crazy dream of like a community or like a commune type situation. Intentional, yeah. Like an intentional community, but like I think like building on this land has like proven that we can like execute a vision, and like now I think just like the entrepreneurs in us are like, oh, like how can we take it one step further?
Totally.
But yeah, we're trying to learn how to be content as well. Like, because we're pretty fickle people, so.
One step at a time.
Yeah. Well, I think that congratulations are in order. I mean, seeing this place after really such short time. That's the thing that's mind-blowing to me. Like, you came in, you sold your house, you bought this house, you're adapting on the go, and then you're just like, cabin, woods, build paths, goats. Well, the goats are no longer here either, but that's because you like gave them away or sold them or something. Goats are
they're hard.
They're very hard animals. I don't think people realize that. They eat everything you don't want them to eat, by the way. But yeah, you've really just embraced trying, and I think that that's like a really amazing thing that you've tried, and that you have something to show for it in such like a small amount of time. If someone wants to book to stay here, because like this isn't just for your friends to stay, it's for people from all over. So how do people find this?
So it's off grid, so it's seasonal, so we're closed down for the cold weather, but come springtime you can go to hipcamp.com and then search Juniper Moon Grove, and that's how you'll find us. Or
Juniper Moon Grove.
Yeah, you can Google Juniper Moon Grove, and like it's like the top 1 or 2 results too.
Cool. I think that's all the time we have, folks. I have more people to see up this way. We're up in Fleming County, by the way. I never really said that, and that's a northern. There's a northern county, not to be confused with northern Kentucky. That's a very different identity, very different thing. But we're in a northern county north of Lexington in Fleming County, and we'll check in with Jason and Tash some other time. But for now, you know where to find me. I'll make sure that you know where to find them should you want to come from any corner of this planet to come visit the Juniper Moon Grove. But until then, adios.